I used to write the same sentence in my journal every night. I am becoming successful. I am attracting abundance. And every morning, I woke up and checked my bank account like I was checking a wound to see if it had healed. It never had. I was 29, working a mid-level marketing job I didn't hate but didn't love either. I had a vision board on my closet door, a picture of a house I couldn't afford, a car I didn't need, a version of myself smiling in a way I never actually smiled. I'd read that if you focus on what you want, the universe rearranges itself to give it to you. So I focused hard. I meditated on abundance. I said affirmations in the mirror. And somehow, every month, something fell apart. My car broke down twice. I got passed over for a promotion I was sure I'd get. A friendship I valued quietly dissolved over a misunderstanding I never fully understood. I remember thinking, if I'm doing everything right, why does it feel like I'm attracting the exact opposite of what I want? I didn't say this out loud to anyone. It felt embarrassing, like admitting I believed in something that wasn't working. But I kept doing it anyway, because stopping felt like giving up, and giving up felt worse than failing quietly. Then I met Daniel. He worked 2 desks away from me, and I didn't know him well, just enough to nod good morning and occasionally grab coffee at the same time. He wasn't remarkable in any obvious way. He didn't talk about manifestation or self-help books. He didn't have a vision board. But things seemed to move around him in a way that felt almost unfair. He'd casually mention an opportunity, and 2 weeks later he had it. He'd say something like, "I think I'll take a break from dating for a while, I want to feel more settled first," and a few months later he'd meet someone without even trying. At first, I told myself it was luck. Some people just get lucky. But the more I watched him, the more that explanation stopped fitting. It wasn't luck. It was something quieter than that, something I couldn't name yet, and it bothered me more than I wanted to admit. One afternoon, we ended up walking to the parking garage together, and I asked him, half joking, half serious, "What's your secret? You always seem to get what you want." He laughed, a little surprised by the question. "I don't know if I get what I want," he said. "I think I just don't spend a lot of time imagining what I don't want." I remember stopping for a second, because that sentence didn't land the way I expected it to. I asked him what he meant. He said something like, "You know how sometimes you catch yourself replaying an argument that hasn't even happened yet? Like you're rehearsing a fight with someone before you've even talked to them?" I nodded, because I did that constantly. He continued, "I used to do that a lot. Then I noticed that whatever I rehearsed, I sort of walked into. Like I'd already lived it once in my head, so when the real moment came, I already knew how to make it happen." I didn't think much of it that day. It sounded a little too simple, almost like something you'd find printed on a mug. But it stuck with me in a way I couldn't quite shake, the way certain sentences do. You keep hearing them replay at random moments, in the shower, in traffic, right before falling asleep. A few weeks later, I was getting ready for a meeting with my manager about the promotion I'd been hoping for. And in the shower that morning, without even meaning to, I found myself rehearsing the rejection. I imagined her face when she said no. I imagined the awkward silence after. I imagined myself nodding, pretending to be fine, walking back to my desk and pretending to work while actually replaying the conversation over and over. I caught myself mid-thought and stood there under the water, a little stunned. I hadn't even had the meeting yet, and I had already lived through losing it. Multiple times. In vivid detail. That was the moment something shifted, quietly, without any dramatic realization or lightning bolt. I just started paying attention to what I was actually rehearsing all day, not what I said I wanted, but what I mentally practiced. And it was almost all discomfort. I rehearsed being criticized. I rehearsed being disappointed. I rehearsed things going wrong before they'd even had the chance to go right. I had spent so much energy trying to attract success by thinking positive thoughts for 5 minutes in the morning, but the other 23 hours and 55 minutes of my day were filled with anxious rehearsal, bracing for pain, preparing for disappointment, imagining worst-case scenarios so I wouldn't be caught off guard. I went into that meeting and, unsurprisingly, it didn't go how I wanted. I didn't get the promotion. But something about my reaction was different this time. I wasn't as devastated as I expected to be, because in some strange way, I had already processed it. I had already lived it, in the shower, 3 weeks early. The real disappointment felt smaller than the rehearsed one. That's when it actually hit me, sitting at my desk afterward, staring at my inbox without really seeing it. I hadn't been manifesting what I wanted. I had been manifesting what I feared, because fear got far more of my attention than desire ever did. Desire got 5 minutes with a journal and a vision board. Fear got hours, quiet, repetitive, almost obsessive hours, spread out across the whole day, disguised as being prepared or thinking it through. The mind doesn't actually care whether a thought feels good or bad. It just notices what gets repeated. What gets repeated becomes familiar. And what becomes familiar starts to feel like truth, like something the mind quietly starts working toward, not because it wants pain, but because it's efficient. It moves toward whatever pattern has the most neural traffic, the most rehearsal, the most emotional charge. My anxiety wasn't protecting me from disappointment. It was training me for it. I thought about Daniel again, and I realized his secret wasn't optimism exactly. It wasn't that he never thought about failure. It was that he didn't spend hours rehearsing it in vivid detail like I did. When a negative thought came up, he seemed to notice it and let it pass, instead of building an entire imagined scene around it, complete with dialogue and consequences and the particular way people's faces might look at him. Over the next few months, I didn't overhaul my entire personality or become someone who never worried. That would have been its own kind of pretending. But I started catching myself mid-rehearsal, the way I had in the shower, and gently interrupting it. Not by forcing positivity, but by asking myself a simple question: is this thought helping me prepare, or is it just helping me suffer in advance? Sometimes the answer was that I genuinely needed to think something through. But most of the time, if I was honest, I was just rehearsing pain because it felt safer than hoping. Hope felt exposed, like it could be taken from me. Fear felt like armor, like if I imagined the worst enough times, it couldn't surprise me. But armor has a cost. It doesn't just block pain. It shapes you around expecting it. I didn't get a dramatic transformation out of this. I still have bad days. I still catch myself spiraling into some imagined confrontation that will probably never happen exactly the way I picture it. But now I notice it faster. I notice how much of my inner life was spent auditioning for disasters that mostly never came, and how little I'd spent auditioning for anything good. What I understand now is that manifestation, if it means anything real at all, isn't about repeating a hopeful sentence in the mirror for 5 minutes. It's about where your attention actually lives for the other 23 hours. The mind doesn't manifest what you want. It manifests what you rehearse. And most of us are rehearsing our fears far more faithfully than our hopes, without ever noticing we've been doing it. I think about that shower moment sometimes, the version of myself standing there realizing she'd already grieved something that hadn't happened yet. I wonder how many people are doing that right now, in their own quiet moments, mourning outcomes that are still just thoughts, still just rehearsals, not yet real. And I wonder what would happen if, just for one day, we paid as much attention to what we hoped for as we do to what we're afraid of.